Good evening. It's the Hex Late Show. We're here on a Tuesday night in Australia from lockdown, our last week of lockdown, and we are here with the usual crew. Tonight we've got a couple of guests who we'll bring them on a bit later, and we're going to be discussing some interesting things related to PulseChain. So I might just bring up a couple of the guys first up. We've got Tangent. Just turn off your mute. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. We got Jexxa.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey, Jexxa.
Hey, mate. We have Bloobum.
Hey, Bluey.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, double thumb.
And we did have, there she is. She's back. And we've got Sammy.
Jexxa.
She's gone dark.
She's gone dark.
Sammy.
Maybe you want to jump out and jump back in, Sammy. So we're here, guys. We've got a special guest tonight who we will bring up shortly. But before we do that, is there anything we want to talk about? I mean, what's been going on the last couple of days? It's been bedlam. It's been bedlam out there.
Can I do an immediate shout out for the stream that Freddie Quotes is putting together for? It's going to be Thursday night, I think, for America. It doesn't matter. You guys will see the timing on the tweet. But we're doing the first edition of that show where we get blazed and talk about crypto. And I cannot wait.
What's it called?
Steak and bake.
Steak and bake. Oh, that'll be a must watch for sure.
That'll be good. That'll be good.
That sounds so short, day 43.
Mate, I can't wait. I actually can't wait for that. It's going to be great. It's going to be hilarious. I'm sure these guys are just going to go off tap.
Yeah. It'll be the realest crypto show you ever see.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to ask Jexxa, you mentioned something in the chat today about some misinformation that you thought was out there and that you just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Go into that?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a wacky week. And look, the crypto space is full of stories, rumor, and conjecture at the best of times. But when we get a little bit of price action like we've seen, I think that drags even more people out with their weird and wacky theories. And I've seen everything from, apparently there was a bunch of OG hexagon YouTubers that have been manipulating the price to push it down. I don't know where that sort of stuff originates from, but obviously that's
by video content or by actual selling?
There's no logic. There's no logic. It's just this is just stuff that's getting bandied around in chats. To the other big one that I've seen a lot of was the snapshot's been done.
The snapshot.
The snapshot, yeah. So that's, first of all, I actually went to the effort of putting together a video to explain how this is going to work, because we're not actually having a snapshot. But the theory was something like this. There's, how are you, mate? The theory.
How you going out there in YouTube land? Can you hear me?
Sure can, buddy.
Oh, good.
You do know you are day 43 Mark II.
I'm 5. I came late because I thought I was on daylight savings, and you guys are on daylight savings. So yeah.
Yeah, I got stung by that last week.
Anyway, I do apologise for being late, and I do apologise for passing out last week and not showing up.
You're right, mate. You're fine, uNrekt.
You're on the mushies again, uNrekt.
Oh, listen.
That was one of the accusations about.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Mate, how's this? Hang on. How's this
the poison, but the remedy?
This is the best rumor of the week. I heard a rumor, like legit people believing this rumor. Someone said that Richard Hart had died because he'd like OD'd on mushrooms. That's the rumor I heard.
And that was what was causing the price correction.
And that was what caused the price correction. So there you go, man. People just, they were probably on mushrooms when they came up with that.
Yeah, all the crazies come out. So Yeah, so the snapshot thing, let's just quickly have a chat about that, because I think people need to be really clear on this. There is no snapshot that is going to take place which will record everyone's balances, and that will be the thing used for the state of the network when it launches. That's not a thing. So I wish people would stop using the term snapshot, to be honest, because
Let's just stop using snapshot. It's fork, and that's it.
Yep. So we're doing a fork. It's going to happen at a particular block height. When Ethereum reaches a particular block height, PulseChain will go live. And whatever the state of the network was when they fork at that particular point in time, that's how it'll be. So this sort of thing where people think they're trying to game the system by predicting when a snapshot is going to happen and then dumping their coins because they've recorded their balances in this snapshot, it's not a thing, people. So stop using the term snapshot to begin with, because it doesn't actually reflect what is going on. And yeah, if you're putting that information out there, then you're probably misleading people. So, and that's not a good thing to begin with. That's my 2 cents. I'll get off my soapbox now.
Now we have been keeping this gentleman waiting for a few minutes, so we won't keep him waiting any longer. But before we bring him on, this is related to Pulse. This is a lot of you would have heard of the project Liquid Loans. So we've got Jesse from Liquid Loans who's coming on to explain to us, and answer questions about the protocol. So without further ado, let me just bring up Jesse. How are you, sir? Hang on. Let's see. You're muted. Sorry, mate. How are you, sir?
Yeah, hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
G'day.
Hey, how are you, Jesse?
Mate?
Hey.
What's cracking?
Welcome, mate.
You're welcome, mate. I have. Can I have a Liquid Loans, mate? This is something new to a lot of hexagons. We just found out about it recently. Before we get into it, can I have a go at trying to explain what I've understood so far? And feel free to jump in and correct me at any time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from my understanding of it so far is that it's a protocol, and there are basically 3 pillars to this protocol. There's borrowing, there's stability providers, and then there's staking of the loan token. On the borrowing side, people will be able to take their Pulse, they'll be able to lock it up, and they'll get a stable coin called USDL minted based on how much they put in there, or how much, and there's going to be like percentages and things, but you can maybe explain that a bit later. Then that USDL, you'll be able to go off and do what you like with it, and it's going to be an interest. It's going to be an interest-free loan. There is a fee, a small fee to get into it. And is there a fee to get out of it?
Yep. There's no fee to get out of a loan. There is a second fee for redeeming if you're going to do any arbitrage, which I'll explain.
Yep. Then you've got, so that's the first pillar. Then you've got the stability providers, which, am I right in thinking that this sort of works like an AMM?
So yeah, if you take the whole protocol itself, it's really like a giant automated market maker, because you have, basically you have 2 halves, and all we did is rename the one half the borrowers and the other half the stability providers.
Right. Okay. And then the third pillar is that there's going to be a token called a loan token. And I know the least about this, so maybe we can talk about that. But you'll be able to stake that token, and then based on your percentage of that staked pool, you will get paid the fees that are generated from people. There's a fee to get into the loan, and a fee to go out of the loan at the end, and you get those fees apparently. But and I apologize if my terminology is not on point, but you guys you can correct me a bit later on. But and have I done okay so far? Am I understanding what this is about?
Right. So on the staking side, yeah, you got everything pretty much spot on. Excuse me, spot on. The fees are paid in USDL. They come out of somebody's loan, and those get paid to the stakers, right? So people who stake just have a residual income of USDL coming in, but they also will get a residual of Pulse coming in from some arbitrage events that happen on this protocol. It may not be a significant amount of Pulse, right? Because it is a pretty stable system. But in the event there's any market fluctuations where there needs to be arbitrage with the stable coin, there's actually a fee that's attached to that, but that also gets paid to the stakers.
Cool. So Bloobum.
Yeah.
Full house.
Do you can I ask how are we going? Ty and DJ Cryptomatic. How are we?
Hello, paper hands.
Soul brother, check it out now.
Hello, everyone. Hey.
Soul brother.
It's great that you have Jesse on. We've been through all this yesterday on Twitter, already poked it real quick, so it's amazing to find out more about the project.
Mm-hmm.
Bloobum, are you? Do you have some questions, mate? Because
so I sent Jesse a whole lot of questions that I had just from going through the white paper, and I was going to curate them, but then I got stuck in a discussion with some Bitcoin maxis for the last few hours, and so I haven't managed to curate them. So I'm just going to go with what I think are the kind of I'm just going to go with what I think are the most important ones first, I guess, so how does the contract know how much Pulse a USDL costs?
Right. So same way that Pulse Swap or Uniswap functions, right? Everything operates off of oracles. So this protocol happens to have multiple failovers. It searches through multiple spots. So we've developed our own internal failovers, which pull from, which will be pulling pretty much from PulseSwap and Uniswap. But also, we are working with some major oracles. I'd love to tell you their names right now, but I'm not allowed to do that at this point.
Mm-hmm. Are they well known oracles in the space?
Yes, they're very, very well known. They're the biggest. The biggest concern when using an oracle is, does it make a protocol prone to failure if they go down? And something that people need to understand is many of these oracles, especially the best ones, they operate very much like almost like validator nodes will, and all the consensus that has to be reached. It's not just one server sitting in in somebody's garage somewhere. There's multiple servers that are all reaching a consensus. They're all being paid in the token of that oracle so that they're putting out correct information. Okay, I'm not sure if they're slashing, like there will be with like a PulseChain validators. But people have to understand that the biggest oracles are very consensus driven among many, many servers. And then, so when you have a major oracle that's giving you your price calls, but then you have a second oracle solution as well built into your protocol, you're relatively safe, right? But bear in mind, 70 to 75% of DeFi projects do have to use oracles to receive price calls. So if they go down, most of DeFi will go down as well.
I guess in a system like this, it's less about the Oracle. Like obviously, Oracle failure is a big thing, but it's probably more about stability of the system in the event when there's big price corrections. So the price may be getting reported correctly by the Oracle, but it's a wildly fluctuating price, like we seen when we had the big COVID dip in March or whenever it was. So the market just goes into a shock, like a black swan event type thing. So that's probably the more important thing, is how stable is something like this in that sort of event.
Well, what's interesting, I think if you look back in May, I think it was May, Ethereum had some, a major market dip. Stablecoins in general, stablecoins do fluctuate, right? Usually they fluctuate very small, 99 to 99 cents to $1, maybe even more than $1 at times, $1, $1. Back in May, a ton of stablecoins started trading as low as 75 cents. They're supposed to be worth $1 for a short period of time. Again, there's arbitrage that happens in all of these. So anytime there's a major market dip like that has some weird effects on a stable coin, it's usually very short-lived. I will say that the protocol that we forked did not dip to 75 cents. It only dipped to 95 cents for a very, very short period of time during that market dip, because of how stable this system keeps.
And how do they know? Like that it's the stable coin, because the stable coin is just paired with something else. So how do you know it's not the price of the other thing, rather it's the price of the stable coin? That's different.
So everything's paired to everything else, right? Inside of a pool, right? So if there's more of hex on one side, that value carries over to the other side, right? That leaves arbitrage events in the stable coin to keep it stable. Those happen very fast. And also I'm pretty familiar with liquidity pools, but as they relate to stable coins and how did the stable coins stay stable? Well, some of those small market fluctuations, I'm sure, happen when people buy something on the other side of the pool, or they sell something on the other side of the pool and they input stable coin. And then there's arbitrage events that are happening with some other stable coin that are just held in some people's wallets at the time. That's my understanding of how they stay stable, at least in those pools. But that's just those fluctuations are normally very, very small. The protocol itself, starting at the very beginning, is where these stable coins derive their price from, and we can talk about that.
So I guess what we see with a lot of traditional stable coins like a USDT is one of the big concerns, obviously, is counterparty risk. And is that counterparty, do they hold the assets to back up the value they're saying their token holds? So in liquid loans, how does it handle that side of things?
So instead of there being a counterparty like a bank, you're almost like your own counterparty. You literally took your asset that's backing the value of that stablecoin and you locked it up yourself. So I don't know if you've ever seen TrueUSD, TUSD. It's a really good example of what's happening with most stablecoins. With TUSD, you can take your fiat dollars, you send them to the TUSD platform. It literally gets locked up, right? But you don't see it anymore because it is highly centralized. Who knows what they're doing with that fiat in the background? But they do have it. And based on that and them locking that up, you literally mint yourself some TUSD stablecoin. And it works in reverse on the way out. So you bring back your TUSD ERC20. It goes into the protocol. It burns itself. And then they release fiat into your bank account. Okay? So some of the major institutions, Circle, Tether, they're doing the same thing, but we don't know where they're getting their fiat from, or what kind of leveraging or deals they're doing with the fiat in the background. You can't really see their books. They are very highly regulated because they're using fiat, and banks and fiat institutions come with a lot of government oversight.
Can I say something to that? Can I just say something to that? I think it's important. I know that the crypto is sort of like be your own bank or be your own boss. But like seriously, I think there is a like the regulation and things like that is important, because it just keeps everything in check and honest. It's supposed to. Compliance, integrity.
Yeah, if you're
character.
If you're relying on one of those projects that is the core tenet of how they derive their value, then yes, definitely. I think that's the.
You hear a lot of grey areas and things like that, like around taxation and things like. Just seems to be that the technology is moving faster than the regulators. So
way faster.
Way faster. So there's loopholes everywhere. There's gaps.
So could I just bring it back to the how you have multiple oracle, like you have fail-safe oracles? How does that work? So how do you know if an oracle fails and that you have to go to a different oracle?
Yeah. So again, I'm not the head of technology, so there's probably a way more technical answer than this. But if there's a major change in a current price, so prices will always, they have some flow to them, as people buy and sell and the prices move. But if all of a sudden the price goes from here and there's nothing in between and the price is over here, that could suggest that there's something wrong with the oracle. Either there's
bad data or something. Yeah.
So when that happens and you see a jump or a spike, the system is already reading the other oracles and saying, well, that data doesn't compare to these other oracles that I'm reading. Let me compare it against the last good price and go with the good one that I know is correct.
Okay. And so just moving on to the loan token, which sounds quite integral to the system, because what you do is you stake the loan token, and that's what gets you a percentage of those fees or whatever. Now, the loan token is going to it sounded like it's going to have like a halvening each year or something. I was wondering how that loan token gets distributed and what the emission schedule is.
Yeah, so the loan token is, you say it's integral. It's a big piece to this that people will be interested in because we like staking. We like some delayed gratification. So instead of just putting on a duct tape token like, some other Uniswap, we always hear Uniswap has a duct tape on token that doesn't do anything. Well, we have a token that's integral and it does something. You obtain it, which perhaps, maybe, just maybe, there's a Genesis drop that some people can either participate in or receive some sort of Genesis drop. But after that, you have to farm it. You have to obtain it out of the stability pool. So you're incentivized to become a stability provider, to come in with some USDL and put that into the pool, participate into the system, and you'll be generating yourself some of this loan token. You take that loan token, you stake it, which we're all familiar with, and now you just sit back and you earn the fees. You sit back and you literally pull in USDL on a residual basis. Now, the rate at which you're able to farm will decrease. It will be twice as difficult or take twice as long to farm this native loan token every year, and that's the same across the board for everybody. And it's on the date of the launch of this project. So every year.
So basically, there's a halving every year.
That's correct.
And is that a one-time event each year on a certain date, or is that an emission over that whole year?
Nope, it's a one-time event. One-time event. So
every year.
Yeah. So will that cause, it's interesting to see how people react to, oh my gosh, a month from now it's going to be happening, and what happens when,
Well, the price will go
up. We'll see.
It'll go up and then it'll dump. That's what seems to happen, isn't it?
Right.
Like all happenings, eh? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
So there's going to be some sort of distribution. Maybe it's to a certain group of people or whatever. I don't know how you're going to. So there is an initial. Everyone has all these loan tokens. There's immediately a market, and if people choose to, they can either buy or sell that loan token, but they can also stake that loan token, and then just staking that loan token basically gets you the fees from the system. And if you want to earn more loan tokens, you need to lock up the USDL, and that and you can basically you're staking that USDL to get the loan tokens, and then you stake the loan tokens. That's going to get you the USDL from the fees of people. Is that how it works?
Right. Yeah. So you could just use those two pools. You don't even have to be a borrower, right? Maybe you don't want to be a borrower. You've obtained the USDL. Well, you could have got that from a loan or from the open market. So you put that into the stability pool, and you farm the native token, the loan token.
Right.
You put that into the staking pool, and you're earning the fees, which happen to be USDL. So what do you do with your USDL? Well, you can either go spend it, or you can just continue having some delayed gratification. You put that back into the stability pools. Just keep growing the stability pool and earn more loan token. You can just go back and forth if you want.
Okay, and over time, the loan token becomes like how long does that halving go for? Is that indefinite or?
Yeah, for forever until the total supply is reached.
Oh, there is a total supply of loan, and how long will that take?
I don't have those numbers, and it will be based off of how many of these tokens are out in the wild, at launch. Okay, so we'll know that percentage. Everyone, I don't even know that number at the moment. Okay, there's people working through that, but a certain percentage will be in circulation. We'll know off of that what the total supply will be eventually. And then we can explain at a later date, okay, I wonder how long it'll take to go through all these happenings and make it to that. It'll be decades down the road before the total supply is ever reached.
You'll be talking decades.
So it's a bit of loan sharking. Is it loan sharking? Like that. You can just borrow money borrow crypto money. Is that right? Is that what it's supposed to do? Sorry to ask a dumb question. I'm really not
loan sharking.
On this stuff. Okay. It's a bit like going out to Cashies and getting a payday loan, is it?
Can we make that? Can we make that into a separate project, guys? Loan shark.
That's your little project on Loan Shark.
Yeah.
Loan.shark.
Hey, can I ask a question about the stable coin, if I may? From my understanding, let's say you take out a loan on Pulse when Pulse is just hitting a market high, like a top, and that's right at the top. That's where you take out the loan. Then the next day, Pulse, let's say, corrects down by 20%. You get liquidated. So you've received the stable coin from the loan, but you've lost your Pulse because of the liquidation. But I personally don't actually, in this case, find this very bad, because in a way you manage to sell the market top, which certain people always try to do, but never manage to. So that's not necessarily bad. But then from the white paper, I didn't quite understand how that USDL, how the pegging works, because from the traditional stable coins like a USDT or TUSD, they're always back to the fiat dollar, or they are stable coins that are back to the price of gold. Yours is actually pegged to the dollar value of the day's pulse value.
Right.
So doesn't that then also
No.
fluctuate like that if I haven't spent it immediately? If I, let's say, just kept it in a wallet for a week, is that worth less in purchasing price than if I would have spent it immediately?
Your stable coin will always be worth $1. There's always, and it's always redeemable for $1 worth of pulse. But let me explain what happens when you pay something back. If you chose to pay back the loan, I'll talk. So let's say you lock up some pulse, you get yourself some stable coin. Later on, you say, I'd like to pay back my loan, which you don't have to. You can just keep it indefinite, right? But you say, well, I'd like to pay it back. You literally bring back stablecoin, which burns itself, and it releases your pulse. Now, the system only cares about 110% of the value of what you minted. That's all it ever cares about. Anything over and above that you've decided to lock up. So if you've locked up, 500% or 1,000%, let's say you locked up $100,000 and you got yourself a $2,000 loan, right? So you've got a big giant overhead there. You've got a lot of room where you won't be liquidated, but the system only ever cares about the $2,000 at the very bottom. That's all it ever cares about. If the value of what you're holding falls all the way down, so that giant bag of pulse that you put in there is only worth $2,000 on the open market, yes, it has to take your pulse away at that point, and somebody else ends up paying your loan. Okay, but you're really not in a worse situation than if you're holding liquid that whole time, right? So let me give you an easier example, because leverage is scary, and people associate this protocol with leverage, where you put in a little bit of money, you trade with a lot of money, the market moves a little bit, you lose all your money, and then there's cascading liquidations and everybody else loses their money too. And that's not what's happening.
Can I ask a question? What happens if you just want to go and buy a house or a car or something like that? Can you borrow? Can you get the money off you guys? It's not
off of us. It's literally this is a stablecoin factory. And this is remember how I explained how TUSD works? You bring in fiat, it mints you, a stablecoin backed by that fiat. This is what this protocol is doing as well. And there's other stablecoins that are all the same. There is some sort of collateral that's locked up to mint the stablecoin. This is a stablecoin factory. All you're doing is locking up one asset and minting another.
What's the collateral?
Yeah, the collateral is the pulse coin.
Oh, really?
So you never have to sell. If you chose to have pulse coin, historically, the only option you had to extract value would be to sell it, which hurts the price. There's slippage, there's tax implications whenever you sell. And now you don't have to do that. There's another option, just like you have with your home equity line of credit. Who wants to sell their home to take out a little bit of money to repair their home or to buy a car or pay for their daughter's wedding? Nobody wants to do that, right? You could take a line of credit out against assets you already own. You're already going to own some pulse. Use this system wisely, in a fashion where you won't get yourself wrecked. You get the money on the front end. There's no
easy
wreck.
to do, isn't it? It's easy to do. Hey, but I saw that on that house. Was it Stake Hex today? Man, that site's awesome. But anyway, sorry to that's. But yeah, I'm sort of starting to get the picture now. I get a little bit of the what you're putting out, what you're putting down there for sure.
Can I give
So
you
that would be interested. That I think a lot of his hexagons would be interested in maybe doing something like that. But like to me, I'm always been like of the belief that you shouldn't go and spend money that you don't have. You should get it first and then spend it. But like I understand you got to like if you're buying a large asset and things like that, there's reasons for it.
This is it.
But
This
uNrekt,
isn't
remember,
spending
this is
money.
over collateralized. So this is not borrowing money you don't have.
Yeah.
Oh, righto.
So you're actually borrowing less than what
You're borrowing against your equity and your own.
This is your own
portfolio.
pulse. This
Yeah,
is your
so
own
you've
pulse
got
that you're
you've
putting
got
in
your
there.
portfolio that's worth X amount, and then you're using that as a collateral for I don't know some stable coins that
for
you want to
less
go
than
and-
100% of the loan.
So whatever. So like if you all your hex is
of the
staked up,
asset
for
value.
example. So you got,
Correct.
Yeah. So you got no liquidity. You need money for something. Is that right?
You can only use it
Yeah.
with pulse, though.
It's-
You can only
it's-
use pulse.
It helps
okay.
so that you don't have to sell the crypto asset.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you believe that asset is going to perform positively in price, then it's great that you can sort of enjoy the ability
Yeah.
to spend some of your gains without
Right.
losing exposure to a high price performing asset.
Exactly, because that's
And,
like
and
back
on
to
that
all
point,
bloody,
and on that point, I've just
stake
got
of
a
last resort.
on that point. I've just got a hypothetical, right? I'm going to guess that everyone is going to really value their pulse, and I'm going to guess that everybody is going to really value hex. So, what is in the scenario that everyone starts locking up their pulse, borrowing USDL, swapping it for hex, and then staking it away? What is the incentive to be? I mean, obviously,
I've got it. That's a cunning plan. No, I like that.
what is the
Cunning.
incentive? What's the incentive to be one of the what do you call it? The stabilizer,
Stability providers.
stability provider.
That's actually a great use case, right? So you can take a loan and you can go buy your Ferrari, or you can take a loan and go buy some more hex. Okay, sure. There's going to be a lot of people that they collateralize their pulse with the hopes that the price of pulse will go up, and if it goes down, it does liquidate their pulse at
But
the
they
same
got the hex
level.
anyway. So yeah,
Remember, the liquidation point's at the level of what you've already gotten. You've already gotten
That's
the
what I
value
thought.
out on it. So you really
Yeah.
don't. There's really not.
Because when
like
I heard the name, I thought it must have been like
Right.
some sort of banking product underpinned by hex staking. But
Right.
like, it's obviously completely.
So uNrekt,
we
there's
had no
really
idea.
uNrekt. There's really no getting wrecked here. But
Well, there's always got to be someone get wrecked.
Yeah, so let's just hang on a minute, because
They always
if you
like-
give someone the tools, they will misuse them. So there is the ability to get yourself in a position where you will get liquidated if you misuse it and price moves against you. So let's be clear about that. If you tools are great, and the same with Hex. If you go lock up your Hex and then you go emergency end state because you don't know how to use the product or you're using it irresponsibly, you can hurt yourself.
the way that
There's been a few of those.
that will
Yeah.
happen is that people will borrow their USDL, swap it back for more pulse, borrow more USDL, swap it back for more pulse, blah 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 blah, and they'll just pyramid themselves up, Ponzi themselves up, and then if the price of pulse moves against them, they start getting that liquidated, and all of a sudden they've got nothing.
Yeah, so
You're giving them a right.
That's a good example. People need to understand that is the riskiest thing in this protocol. Somebody doing that to themselves. Now that certainly would help the price of pulse overall because they're just buying more and more and more. But every time they do that, they're paying fees. They're being chopped 10% because it needs a 10% overhead on what they bring in. And eventually they're left with like no USDL or just a little bit of it. And if the price moves against them, they lose all their pulse, and their pulse ends up in the hands of those who are probably using the system to obtain to stake. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the piece
without any sell when they get liquidated, but they will wreck themselves if they use the system unwisely like that. You're correct.
Don't be greedy.
That's not limited to this protocol. This is everything in life. If you go leveraging up your house and you get a big line of credit, but that's just how people use financial tools. But so I guess the full thing that we haven't covered then is, okay, when there's what part do the stability providers play? Now we're on the subject of liquidations. How does all that work?
Yep. So we were talking about what happens if everyone's just using this and buying Hex with it. What's the incentive for the stability providers? Well, the stability providers will be earning Pulse in any liquidation events. There is some incentive for people to choose safe collateralization levels as info. The system's always steering people towards safe levels over 150%. What you'll tend to see is 300% collateralization level, which is a relatively safe number. But what's the incentive for those stability providers? Well, they're earning Pulse every now and then if people have a very low collateralization level. They're burning their stable coin, but they're earning Pulse. So in those events, they're getting Pulse at a very good price, plus a 10% discount as they burn some stable coin. And those are from any liquidation events, but they're also farming that native token. So if there's only, a handful of people in there, they're going to be farming a lot of that native token.
Oh, okay. That
also suggests that there's probably not a whole lot of people staking that native token. So if you're the only guy in there and you're staking the native token, you're earning all of the fees from the thousands of loans that are happening. So there's always going to be people that are stability providers. I can assure you.
But how does the stable coin keep stable if it's not pegged to anything stable? How does that work? What are the mechanics?
Yeah, so all stable coins kind of operate in the fashion I'll describe here in a second. So you have to lock up an asset of value at a little bit more than the asset that you mint, the stable coin. If the asset that's locked up falls in value where it's at risk of being less valuable than what you minted, then the asset that's locked up has to go to some other people who then pay off your loan. They burn your stable coin. So maybe 20 minutes ago, I explained if you want to pay back a loan, you have to bring back stable coin. It burns itself. It releases your 110% of your Pulse. And anything over and above that, you got to keep that. That's yours. You could withdraw that at any time. But the system only cares about having 110% of what you minted locked up. And if you wanted to pay that back, you bring back stablecoin, you put it back into the protocol, it burns, and it releases the Pulse. In a liquidation, the same thing happens. If the value of what's locked up in an individual vault falls to a level that's at risk of being less valuable than what that person minted, and that level happens to be 110%, those Pulse go to the stability providers, and the stability providers paid the loan essentially by burning their stablecoin. So at no point anywhere in the system is there ever a time where collateralized assets are less valuable than the supply of USDL that's in existence. There will always be at least 110% value locked up. There's actually going to be a significant amount. There's actually going to be a significant amount more than that.
So you have to think around the corner like that. Yeah, okay.
And if
there's a really sharp movement in price, like it drops 50% in an hour or something, do people immediately get liquidated, or do they have time to to up their collateralization?
Yeah, so anybody can. There's a number of things you could do. You can top up. You can bring more Pulse in. You can withdraw Pulse at any time. As long the system won't ever let you withdraw the value that you minted. That gets stuck. That's locked in there until you pay back a loan. Right.
I think Bloobum's question is more like, at the point of liquidation, does it give you like a warning? And I think the answer is no, right? Like Bloobum, at that point, it's too late. You need to add additional collateral before it gets liquidated.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a margin call like in Legacy.
So if there's a sudden huge price dip,
yeah, then it's too late.
It's too late, right?
It's too late because it would be instantaneous that it would liquidate the collateral.
So I think synthetics, you get a week or something to up the collateral. I think with synthetics, you get a week to up your collateralization.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong about that, Jesse.
I don't know.
So the system is not automatic. So very much like Hex is community driven, this entire project is also community driven. The liquidation events require a manual entry from any user, from y'all. You log in, you see that there's an account that's fallen below 110%. You physically have to hit a button on your phone or on your computer.
So it was neither of what we were. It's neither. It's basically there is a window, but it's defined by someone hitting that button.
It's defined by our own community.
But that will be more than likely done by bots.
Could be done by bots. True.
Are you saying when Ethereum forks into PulseChain, then we can all go and get liquid loans and go and buy Ferraris? Is that right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes, technically, yes.
Oh, yeah.
If you have Pulse.
Yeah, I'll put my name down for that.
And you don't have to pay uNrekt, and you don't have to pay it back either. You don't.
And no interest.
Even better.
There's no interest, and you don't have to pay it back.
Well, when you're sitting on the beach earning 45% or 60% or whatever the Hex does, why do you need a loan?
Yes, sorry, uNrekt. Someone made that comment. uNrekt, it's important to note that point that someone just made. I don't know who said it, that it's using Pulse is the collateral, not Hex.
Oh, but this is the Hex Late Show.
So
the greatest digital asset of all time. Triple order, 100% uptime. That one. Nothing to do with that.
It's related because
So uNrekt. When you get Pulse, you can go get a loan with your Pulse. Instead of selling it, you can go get a USDL loan, and then you can go buy. You can go and buy Hex on the PulseChain and stake your Hex.
Protecting the price. Nice.
So you can.
That's the only thing that matters, isn't it? The only thing that matters in crypto is the number go up. So that's good. Very good. I'm glad to hear that.
Actually, Jesse, is there potential that at some point other assets could be used as collateral, or this looks like it's going to be pretty much a one asset path?
There is potential, but not at first.
Okay. So uNrekt, you may one day get your wish.
Hey, look, you know what?
No promises of future work from others.
Respect the hustle. I mean, look, that sounds very complicated and detailed and technical. So if it all works like you say, then kudos to you, and I hope it's a great success. So that's all I can. That's all. I said I haven't even looked at my computer. I've been down at the beach, so I haven't.
Can we just do a comparison? I know, like, we are. uNrekt is 100% right. We are the Hex Late Show, so we like to compare everything to Hex, everything. So what are the similarities as far as the properties of this immutable contract, like with Hex? Like, it's immutable, right? That's one thing that it is.
Correct.
What else is similar?
So it's immutable. It's trustless. There's no admin keys. It's completely decentralized. There's it's community driven. Everything in this is pretty much run by the community.
That's good.
Nice.
There is a delayed
too,
there's delayed gratification. There's staking on one side. It's made by the community. First off, we didn't invent the thing. We actually forked it after looking at lots and lots of protocols and looking for one that fit the community the best. But it's brought to you by Hexicans. So
You have a
The
few
scary-
people.
You're
in
putting the
your
loan
chat,
sharks
don't you?
out of a job by telling them they don't have to repay their loan, though, because you know what I mean. Like, if someone doesn't repay their loan normally, you have to go and persuade them to pay the loan.
That's
Anyway, but you don't have to
Maybe-
do that. It's just like
maybe
all
you can do that,
like,
uNrekt. Maybe you can do
it's
that.
all emoji, like emoji, RPC, hugs and kisses and all that. Don't worry, you don't have to pay that back. It's fine.
Well,
Well, you don't get your pulse back though. If you
Oh,
don't
Yeah,
have
lose
it.
the
oh, that's
pulse.
right. Yeah. Well, anyway,
And listen,
But
the
Let's make it
fee-
all right.
it's a good point. It's a good point. It's like it's a digital thing that removes one more legacy component of a job that didn't need to be done.
This is a community bank. This is what this is. This takes out the middleman, right? It makes it so the community itself is its own bank. If you would like to obtain some funds with something that you already own, you have that option. If you never want to sell, if anybody who's going to own Pulse never wants to sell, they don't have to, and they can still obtain value with the assets that they already own. Imagine what that could do for price performance if people use this community bank that's being presented to them, and it could have.
So just
I won't talk about price performance, but we all hope that Pulse will do very, very well, and we believe that this will help in that endeavor.
Yeah, that's good.
Apart from the loan side of things, so as a community, so in Hex we've got particular beliefs, the way we think things should be done, and that's without having counterparty risk. So Pulse is going to launch, and on Pulse we are going to need some sort of stablecoin. Now, as a community, we may get to have more input into what that stablecoin looks like on our platform. So we can go down the path of having the traditional guys come in and give us their counterparty suck coins, where you never know at any point in time when you could get frozen. They're pairing up with the regulators in a big fashion because they have to. So as a community, is this something we can bring to Pulse, which is a stable coin supported by the community for the community with no counterparty risk? And that's one of the things I see that may be a potential out of this.
And it has been battle tested, hasn't it? It has been battle tested on other blockchains. Like where else are we? Is this protocol currently in operation?
Well, it's on a number of blockchains. The latest, well, it's on